Greetings, colleagues. Let me take this opportunity to welcome you all to this workshop in which I will be discussing program development item that I consider relevant as we develop our teaching and learning material. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, there has been this shift in doing practices, including teaching and learning. Now, in keeping pace with the new normal, I here present to you this work on a platform that the university is subscribing to, that is digitization. Apparently, as dictated by the strategy, we as a university by now, we must be seen executing our deliveries online and showcasing our command on digital delivery. As we encourage students to undertake online teaching and learning, we should be seen leading by example. Hence, as an effort to live the reality of online shift, I hereby present a topic on understanding program development for innovative instruction and study material development. The topic I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is as you see here, and that's the topic which we will be looking at. As the presenter, I think most of you, you know me, subject specialist, program developer science, Tawana-Ndolo, SN. Program development in context of secondary education. Program development for open and distance learning entails a broad spectrum of engaging activities which are meant to create a conducive environment that promotes learning on the absence of a teacher, and at the same time capturing the student attention to be able to remain on the lesson. Its method of inquiry allows learners to appreciate self-directed learning impact on their lives and the society holistically. Now, the program must equip learners with long-term values that can, trigger skills that they may need in their life. It further encourages them to participate in lifelong learning. In the process, the learners will exercise their creativity and develop skills such as critical thinking, develop skills such as innovativeness, develop skills such as communication, develop skills such as analysis, observation, recording, drawing conclusions, and making judgment. Now, the problem refers to our individual program or syllabus. In the introduction, you would see where it's written that the syllabus is a result of JC evaluation report of 2002 that recommended some changes in the JC science program after extensive consultation with various stakeholders. Of interest on that, which goes with what we will be talking to, let's go to the sentence or the last part, which says, in achieving the objectives. Remember, the objectives are that which we look at our subject area and say, what are the objectives and how do we help learners or students understand this objective. So in achieving the objectives of the syllabus, it should be realized that when children come to school or when students come to school, they bring with them some experience, they bring with them knowledge, they bring with them skills, they bring with them attitude and beliefs. Some of these experiences may become useful or maybe an inhibitive during the teaching and learning process. And so teachers or facilitators have to be aware of these earlier experiences or social experiences to communicate understanding more effectively through recognizing individual abilities, individual interests, and individual needs. Our mandate, Botswana Open University intends to upgrade Botswana General Certificate of Secondary Education or Junior Certificate students' results. It is with the mandate of BOE, or it is within the mandate of BOE to make education accessible to all Botswana, especially for the out-of-school youth and adults. This is realized through the open and distance learning, that is ODL, which is by no means unfamiliar discourse to most of our students and even our tutors. Now, there is this theory, or there is this understanding called community of inquiry, the COI. Teaching and learning can be offered as face-to-face, blended, or online. That is what we do in Botswana Open University. Now, ODL subscribe to online or blended learning. That's what we do here. BOE Open Schooling subscribes to blended learning approaches. However, we need to acknowledge that there has been a shift with subscription being skewed towards much of the online and minimal face-to-face in recent years. I think about since the course of since the beginning, or when we experienced the COVID-19 challenge. This model, which is the lens itself with the the model what I'm talking about is that of community of inquiry. It leans itself on constructed social learning theory, which identifies its action in community of inquiry model. COI leads to what we call social presence, it leads to what we call cognizance presence, and it leads to what we call teaching presence. These three pillars are key, I want to believe, when you want to teach or when you want to see a learner being successful. Remember what I said about our program or our syllabus, where it recognizes that a learner comes to school with a number of things that are critical for learning. And now here I'm talking to social presence, I'm talking to cognitive presence, and I'm talking to teaching presence. Let's look at what social presence is. Ability of participants to be identified with others in the community, communicate purposefully in trusting environment, and developing interpersonal relations by way of projecting their individual personalities. As I grew up, there was this thing in some years, recent years, as I was growing up in my teaching environment, what we called Ngwana Uruta Ngwana. That idea was where a learner teaches another learner, was trying to bring the importance of this aspect we call social presence. The social presence. Why? Because it was allowing the point which I'm talking about there of being, identified with others within the community. It was bringing in play the issues of communicating purposefully in trusting environment, the same language, the same cognitive understanding of aspect, and at the same time it helped develop interpersonal relations by way of projecting their individual personalities. Now this happens through open communication. You need learners to be free to communicate that which they know. It happens through expression of feelings. During communication, you might find that there is this, projection of voices. Some of these expressions that the kids can play. Sometimes when we see this, we tend to be antagonistic to them, but they are very important. And the group togetherness. Now, in a social media platform for teaching and learning, when we bring in this issue of technology, which we are here saying we have shifted onto, there is this thing of facilitating this presence. How? Discussions in WhatsApp group, you throw in a question, you let the student. Let me first talk about the WhatsApp group itself. When you talk about the WhatsApp group itself, it facilitates, or it brings the issues that we've just talked about, the issues of being, within a community where you can speak, or where you can express yourself without fear, where you can, project your individual views, and knowing surely that the people you are projecting all this to them, they understand what you are saying. And this is how we can, as facilitators, promote this kind of social presence in the learning space and allow learners to express themselves. We go on to the cognitive presence, means the extent to which learners are able to construct and confirm meaning for sustained reflection and discourse in a critical community of inquiry. To go through the 4 process, students experience the following thinking. In cognitive presence, 1, student has to respond to a cognitive trigger. What is a cognitive trigger? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. 2, they explore the new idea. The cognitive trigger, the new idea comes. It's not something that they just say, oh, that's what he said. They need to be able to explore this new idea, how it links to what they already know, what they are bringing into the class. The third thing, now after exploring it, can they integrate it into what they know? And the process of integration itself will change the understanding. If you integrate it, like I said earlier on, change might be beneficial in the learning, might be such that it inhibits the learning itself. But then, because you are the facilitator here trying to help the learner see the importance of this, the knowledge you are bringing, then the learner try to integrate them on what they already exist. And in that process, it kind of corrects that which they knew, or makes sense to that which they knew. And now, after that, they resolve and accept the idea or solution for themselves. In many contexts or program development, the principle that I'm just talking about here is known as localizing the context for the purpose of learning. You see that in most of the books written outside, we are saying we are adapting them to our context. Or when you have been having some, presentations, or somebody have been doing the same content, be it English, be it maths, be it science or social studies, from outside. Now, when you bring in that information, or when you bring in that subject area, you need to try at most. The very important thing is localizing that content. What do we mean by localizing the content? We actually mean that which I'm talking about here, where you try to make things fit on the existing knowledge of the learner. Now, there is the teaching presence. Is defined in 3 different elements: design, facilitate, and direct instruction. The direction of cognitive and social presence for the purpose of realizing personal meaning and educational worthwhile learning outcome. This direction comes from the instructor and, as appropriate, from the learner. How from the learner? Facilitation must be a response to that which the learner already have or commands as knowledge. Each presence has its own elements and strategies that need to be understood for teachers or instructors to create this community and foster an environment for engaged deep learning. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take a pause here for you to reflect on that which I've already spoken to. And in that, after this break, I will then move on to an area where we are talking technology-enabled learning in our teaching and learning. Thank you for the moment.